Nobody said kill the Boers. They did White Boy Summer. They fucking, they hugged and kissed, and they ended apartheid. That's how it worked. Thank you, Piers Morgan. Where's the fucking Nelson Mandela is a fucking idiotic question when you don't know anything about the history of South African apartheid. Anyway, let's play this and then we'll continue.
Oh, it was terrible, of course. I mean, we kind of get our news kind of also secondhand because, my wife's family, they live in Gaza. They have cousins and uncles there, and their house also was bombed. We haven't been able to communicate with them for the past 3 days. Communication are lost. So we don't know actually what is the, how are they doing, but we're used to that. I mean, it's just like, it's very repetitive. We're used to that. We're used to them being bombed every time and moving from one place to the other. It's just like those Palestinians, they're very dramatic. Israel killing us. But they never die. I mean, they always come back. They're very difficult to kill, very difficult people to kill. I know because I'm married to one. I tried many times, couldn't kill her.
I mean, there's a dark humor there, and I understand why. Because
no, it's not dark humor. I try to get to her every time, but she uses our kids as human shields. I can never take her out.
Again, I understand the humor, but to be serious, Bassem, about this. Tonight,
I will be serious. Now, I will be serious. I was watching your interview with Ben Shapiro, and I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I think that Ben Shapiro is one of the smartest people who ever walked this earth. He's very, very smart. I follow him, and I believe everything he said. And when he came on your show, his solution was, and I quote, his solution was that the solution for this is for Israel to annex Gaza and to kill as many son of bitches as possible to make sure that this will never happen again. And anyone who called for a ceasefire will be a terrorist sympathizer. So God forbid, I don't want to be labeled as a terrorist sympathizer. So I agree with Ben Shapiro. I think we should kill as many son of bitches as possible.
Well, let me,
so
okay,
far,
but Bassem,
so far 3,500 people were killed, including 5,000 son of bitches in the bombing of the Baptist hospital as we speak right now. 1/3 of those 3,500 were children. So my question to Ben Shapiro is, how many more son of bitches do we need to kill so Ben Shapiro is happy?
Okay,
because it changes
Bassem,
from 1 year.
It
changes from one. I'm sorry that. Listen, I'm really at a disadvantage here. I'm looking at a camera. I don't see you. I can hear you on my ears.
The reason I'm interrupting is
I
think you're conflating different interviews with Ben Shapiro. He didn't use the phrase "sons of bitches" with me. Let me play to you what he actually said on my show.
He did. Go back to your interview.
No, he didn't. That was another interview. But let me play what he said to me here.
Well, frankly, I don't believe in proportionate response to terrorism. I believe that the way that you...
Guys, Bassem Youssef is he is the Jon Stewart of Egypt, okay? He is a comedian, and he also does, like, political commentary. Of course he's being sarcastic. He's trying to expose how fucking insane it is. How fucking insane it is that Ben can say things like this. No, he's a lib. I can't believe you guys are taking what he's saying seriously. The point he's trying to make is, like, it's ridiculous that Ben is saying these psychotic terrorist things.
Stop terrorism is with wildly disproportionate response. That doesn't mean in terms of targeting civilians. It means in terms of killing as many terrorists as humanly possible and allowing them to dictate the terms of engagement by hiding behind civilians in areas that they're supposedly responsible for means that the only option for Israel is to surrender to Hamas's hatred of its own citizens, its willingness to use its own children as human shields. No country worth its salt could ever do that.
Now, that is substantively different to what you said he said, right? He's talking there
but
specifically about Hamas terrorists.
I agree with him. The thing is, the question is, what is a proportionate response? Because it has been different from one tier to another. So if you look to this graph, for example, this is the death of Israeli and Palestinians, and it's changing from 1 year to year. It's like fluctuating like crypto. So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is one Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? You guys will be happy. That's my question.
Well, it's not me, it's not me guys. I'm not on either side.
No, not you. Like when I say you guys, I say like the people on the other side of that. I know that you don't think like that, Piers. You're one of the good guys. But let's.
He's just fucking cooking them, dude. Like, you're one of the good guys, I promise.
Let me tell you something. I mean, the reason that I'm using this is that, I mean, I can't remember what happened in 2014, and there was no music festival, but there must be something. I mean, they must do something. It is their fault. It has to be something. I mean, 2018, 300 Palestinians died. Who's counting, you know? So the thing is, what my question is.
Yeah, 2018 was the March to Return. Peaceful protest.
Let's find what is the exchange rate for human life today, so we expect the future death of Palestinians, and we'll be happy to it.
My response to that would be this, Bassem. I've thought carefully about this because I think it's very tricky.
Holy shit, this guy actually did the grandma to baby exchange rate. Yeah, he did. I said this yesterday when we were watching the Muhammad hijab video, and I was like, you should just ask, like, what's the exchange rate? How many grandmothers being kidnapped is the equivalent to like multiple Palestinian children being fucking burned to death with rockets? It's tricky, but I'm sure you have like a decent balance for it, and he's doing it right now, which is good. I mean, I'm happy that someone is doing that.
For people like me to immerse ourselves into a conflict.
Before people say he's watching you, this man has been a fucking satirist and the Jon Stewart in Egypt for longer than I've been alive. So not longer than I've been alive, but he's definitely been around for much longer than I have. So no, I don't think that he's watching me, because if he was, then he'd know at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now.
And I thought carefully about what I feel about this. I feel that the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th supersedes anything else I've seen in this conflict, really ever. The savagery, the butchery, the slaughter of 1,300 people, the shooting of babies, the 100%. Kidnapping of grandmothers, and so on. So if we can agree on that, which I think is inarguable, then the question then becomes, again, about proportion. I don't disagree that there's been a lot of bad stuff on both sides going back historically for decades. But if we agree that this was on a different level altogether, quite deliberately by Hamas, designed to provoke... No, here's my question. Let me ask you a question. And the question, because you raised it earlier about proportion. I honestly don't know what the proportionate response is. I honestly don't. I don't. I've been watching the airstrikes this week thinking...
So what's your question?
Well, I would ask you, if you were Israel, what would you...
If I was Israel?
If you were Israel and that had happened to you, what would you think would be the appropriate way for the country to respond?
I would do exactly like Israel did, kill as many people as possible, since the world is letting me do it. I mean, I can do it because I can, you know? But the thing is, you know what? I agree with you. And you know what? I'm going to be even ahead of you, because I see the question coming. Do you condemn Hamas for the atrocity? Yes, I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. Hamas is the source of all evil. They're a reason for everything. And you know what? Let's, for a minute, imagine a world without Hamas.
Right.
What will this world look like? Let's give this word a name, and let's name this word the West Bank. Hamas has absolutely no control in the West Bank. And since the beginning of this year, only through August, 37 Palestinian kids were killed. No music festival.
Why did you say he's a sub? I mean, the world without West Bank is like directly the same commentary that I've said as well. Go back 30 seconds. Oh, he's going to condemn.
I honestly don't know what the proportionate response is. I honestly don't. I don't. I've been watching the airstrikes this week thinking...
So what's your question?
Well, I would ask you, if you were Israel, what would you...
If I was Israel.
If you were Israel and that had happened to you, what would you think would be the appropriate way for the country to respond?
I would do exactly like Israel did, kill as many people as possible since the world is letting me do it. I mean, I can do it because I can, you know. But the thing is, like, you know what? I agree with you. And you know what? I'm going to be even ahead of you because I see the question coming. Do you condemn Hamas for the atrocity? Yes, I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas. I condemn Hamas is the source of all evil. They're a reason for everything. And you know what? Let's, for a minute, imagine a world without Hamas.
Right.
What will this word look like? Let's give this word a name, and let's name this word the West Bank. Hamas has absolutely no control in the West Bank, and since the beginning of this year, only through August, 37 Palestinian kids were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. Since the occupation of the West Bank, 7,000 Palestinians were killed. No music festival, no paragliding, no Hamas. I can go on and on and on and on.
No, but you don't need to, because in a way you're preaching to the choir.
I love him for saying this.
I follow this crisis.
Oh no, you're not preaching. So the thing is, like,
in the sense that I know that what you're saying has validity. Of course,
Piers. By the way, Piers. I am at a disadvantage here. I can hear you. I cannot see you. I am in a claustrophobic room, and so please cut me some slack and don't interrupt me and interrupt my points.
Sure.
So, because this has to be fair.
Understand.
Because if you want to only hear your opinion, I can just condemn Hamas and go home. I can do that. So, do you want to do that, or do you have a much more nuanced conversation?
No, I absolutely want to have a nuanced conversation. I wasn't aware I was interrupting you. I thought I was letting you speak.
Amazing. So let's. I mean, I would say I really applaud Israel for doing one thing that no military force in the world does. Because I heard Ben Shapiro and I heard Ron DeSantis, and they said Israel is the only military force in the world that warns civilians before bombing them. I mean, how fucking cute. That is so nice of them. So, because with this logic, if Russian troops started warning Ukrainians before bombing their houses, we're cool with Putin, right? I mean, okay, Habibi, you have warned them, go invade. It's fine. You have done your job. I mean, the thing is, and I understand, and I also heard Ben Shapiro talking about Human Shield. So you remember my wife's family, they live in Gaza. So I asked them, I told them, when Israel give you the nice warning, the cute warning, does Hamas force you to stay in your home so you can be bombed and use as Human Shield? You know what, Hassan here, my wife's cousin, he's a loser, you know. He told me, you know, when I asked him, does that happen? He told me, no. The lying son of a bitch lied to me. I told him, you don't understand. Ben Shapiro and Ron DeSantis keep saying that Israel warned you and Hamas asked you to stay put. So I told you, he's a loser. He never kept a job. He even failed in all of the interviews to become like a human shield. I would believe Ben Shapiro.
Let me ask you this, Bassem.
So let's go with that. No. Let me ask you
this. At some point, I must be able to ask you questions. It's not a monologue for you, Bassem.
If we agree that for the 14,000 casualties, I mean, who's counting, our human shield, does that mean that every single one of those civilians was standing, obscuring a military target behind them? Because that's a lot of weapons. I mean, Hamas is packing.
No, of course it doesn't. Look,
it doesn't. So there's some collateral damage. Lots of collateral damage.
Yes.
It's fine, yeah. You kill some to save some and then kill some more. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Again, it comes back to proportionate response. When the world decided it had to get rid of ISIS because of the appalling butchery they were carrying out, it did so by also killing, very sadly, a lot of civilians along the way by doing airstrikes against places which
but killing civilians are inevitable. You said that in the beginning.
My point is,
it's inevitable.
Yeah, but once Israel has decided that they want to get rid of Hamas, and Hamas is embedded with civilian population, I'm very concerned about what's going to happen next. I've written a column tonight saying, I remember the Iraq War, which I opposed, right? I remember all this. So my question for you is, what would you think would be an appropriate response by Israel to what happened?
Well, these are years of disproportionate responses of Israel.
Right.
Did it solve the solution? Did it solve the problem? Did it work before, so it will work? What will be the surprise this time? What will be the twist that will make this work this time? What will be different this time? Seriously, I mean, this is only the last 15 years. I mean, because it's too many papers. I just got this. But how will this be different? And the thing is, I am so glad in the introduction.
My goat, dude. He's right.
Then you mentioned the Iraq War. I applaud you, Piers, for saying that because you were honest about it. You said that spreading
an update earlier I looked I looked at like my Instagram. I don't think we had a falling out, but I think he just unfollowed me a while back, or maybe never followed me at all. But I thought we had communicated prior to this, and then I realized no, we've only texted each other. So I don't know why I thought that we were, maybe it was his fan account. No. I've met Bassem. He's given me his book. I met him at VidCon, I think, like a couple years ago. Or no, Politicon, I met him. There's a photo out there somewhere of us hanging out from Politicon. Bassem, not Bassam, sorry. Not VidCon, Politicon.
Lies like WMDs make people look at those people as less of humans, and they would accept the death of 1 million Iraqi, whether by sanctions or by invasion, right? You are a good man. This is amazing. And you know what is similar? Is when you spread the lies of 40 decapitated babies, although it was refuted. So what happens when people hear that, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image with a certain trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that? Who has said 40 decapitated?
Who has said that?
You have repeated.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
Never.
Ben Shapiro didn't say it?
No.
Ron DeSantis didn't say
Nobody has said
it? Okay, Piers.
No,
nobody said it?
No.
Oh, okay, maybe I am wrong. Decapitated. Here's
you're
the thing.
wrong. I've never said that.
The thing, what happened, no, you're wrong. But
that's awesome. Yeah, nobody ever said it. Guys, it was all a dream. We dreamt it up. It was just cooked up by I-24 and immediately repeated without any verification whatsoever. And then Joe Brandon said it too. Didn't he bring it up to fucking Mohammed Hijab like literally yesterday? Yeah, it's got to be like a weird collective hallucination, like a Mandela effect type situation, I think. I'm sure someone in here can find it. I'm not going to go sifting through it right now, but I feel like he brought it up, I'm pretty sure.
But the thing is, the same thing is happening in Iraq. Ben Shapiro once tweeted, not even about Gaza, about the West Bank, when Israel continued to build the illegal settlement. He said, 2017, Israel likes to build.
I'm sure he'll say, he never said 40 babies. He said beheaded. Piers is being an ass. There's a debate raging about whether Hamas beheaded babies or shot them in their bedrooms, as if some of these evil, depraved acts of terrorism is less wicked than the other. Oh, okay. He has said this. Pretty sure he has. This is fair. This is a fair take, in my opinion. But I'm pretty sure he did. Actually run the. I'm pretty sure he actually did run the whole like beheaded babies line against. What is this on his show?
A Palestinian.
And ISIS were taken out, by the way, with planes.
Me.
No. Here's my.
You don't do this with the ambassador.
I'm going to finish.
You do this with Ben Shapiro, which you gave the show to him.
No. Hang on. I'm giving you plenty of time.
No, you're not.
I'm giving you plenty. You asked about the analogy of a plane flying over and targeting.
But you didn't answer my question.
But that did happen, Mohammed, with ISIS.
Would you accept Belfast to be flattened?
No, wait a minute.
Or not? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. It never happened. So the like for like isn't.
It's not. It's a hypothesis. It's hypothetical.
It's not. I don't do hypotheticals.
You don't do hypotheticals.
No. Let's deal with reality.
Okay, let's deal with reality.
No, let me finish. Then you can answer.
You don't answer the question.
No. Here's the reality.
British public can see this.
Here's the reality.
Yeah.
Right.
British public can see this.
Yeah, they can see it.
Yeah, go on.
Don't listen to the debate.
Keep going.
Right. For what it's worth, I think it's a good debate to have. Right. These are questions many people on the pro-Palestinian side are having. I get it. Right. But you're trying to compare what happened on October the 7th with the IRA.
No, I'm not. I used a hypothetical
wait a minute, Mum.
question.
I'm comparing it to ISIS. And the way that the world in the end dealt with ISIS actually was to use airstrikes. And many civilians were killed.
There's a huge difference.
Many innocent people died.
They're not.
He doesn't say this in the clip at all. What the fuck's going on?
5 days ago, terrorists from Hamas attacked Israel. They murdered and raped civilians. They executed the elderly at bus stops. They took babies and Holocaust, and they massacred young people at a festival. They may, it emerged last night, have even beheaded babies in one.
Yeah, okay. There you go. He'll say, I said they may have.
Build things, and Arabs, not Palestine, not Hamas, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Yeah, I thought that was very...
Yeah. He didn't say 40 decapitated babies. There's many different avenues of exit here. You can just do plausible deniability.
The Israeli defense minister, he said, those are human animals. And the thing is, Ben Shapiro should know better because, you know, long before the Holocaust, before Jewish people were thrown in the gas chambers, the Nazi propaganda called them rats. Now, as a human being, I will never accept that another human being being thrown into a gas chamber. But a rat, kill 10, kill 1,000, 3,500. They are son of a bitch. They are human animals who live in open sewage and decapitate babies. And because of that propaganda, Mr. Morgan, that guy in Illinois, the 71 years old guy, he killed, stabbing the 6-year-old Palestinian kid in Illinois 26 times. And he used to play with him. They used to be friends.
Yeah, that part is so fucked up. I didn't cover this yesterday. The 6-year-old literally did not understand what was going on and ran up to him to hug him. And then the fucking landlord psychopathic freak stabbed him 26 times and killed him. Now, let me tell you something. It's so fucking tragic. This is something that I said during the day of jihad, supposedly, right? When people were like, oh, dude, day of jihad, there's going to be global jihad. Something that I told my normie Jewish friends at the time who were afraid. In the Western world, but specifically in the United States of America especially, if you are Jewish, your greatest threat of anti-Semitism is not going to come from Muslims. It is going to come from white supremacists. Okay? Just like your greatest threat of Islamophobia and an Islamophobic hate crime is not going to come from Jews. It's going to come from white supremacists. That is a statistical probability. That is I'm telling you what the likelihood is. I'm telling you what the numbers look like. It is fucking so frustrating that there is this endless back and forth when we all fucking know that the real purveyors of said violence, a statistical certainty, sorry. We all know the purveyors of said violence is overwhelmingly white supremacists. Okay? Overwhelmingly. When the worst anti-Semitic act, anti-Semitic hate crime happened on U.S. soil in that synagogue in Pennsylvania, it was not a Muslim man that walked in there with a weapon and killed a bunch of Jews that were praying. It was a Trump supporter who had become so radical that he thought Trump wasn't aggressive enough. Same thing in Christchurch, New Zealand. The person who walked into those mosques and slaughtered all of those Muslims that were praying, that person was not a Jew. That person was, yet again, a white supremacist. The idea that we face incredible threats as Muslims or Jews from one another is not found in any real evidence. There is no evidence for this. And yet that is the media narrative. Ben Shapiro has been responsible for Islamophobic hate crimes. Right? Like the Quebec, the terrorist in Quebec. But that was not because he's Jewish. That was because he was a white supremacist. Okay? his white supremacist commentary had radicalized people. Ben Shapiro does not represent Orthodox Jews in any meaningful capacity. How do I know this? After all, he is a staunch opponent of abortion in the United States of America. This is not a Jewish value. As a matter of fact, it is literally permissible, not only allowed, but encouraged under certain circumstances in the Torah. What a ridiculous thing. Just because he wears a yarmulke does not change the reality that what he is preaching aligns with Judaism. It does not. Different rocket. Oh boy, here we are. More videos coming out of IDF. Raw footage. A rocket aimed at Israel misfired and exploded at 18:59. The same moment a hospital was hit in Gaza. Yeah, that's what it is. It was actually just a rocket that exploded in the air that was able to fucking drop a massive bomb on a hospital. Anyway. Oh boy. None of this is addressed. The main question I have. Anyway, let's continue with Bassem.
Marching into their apartment, stabbing his mother and killing him, shouting, all Muslims could die. Yeah. It took you 80 years to change one word from Jewish to Muslim. And then you transferred your guilt to us and took away our land.
Bassem, let me ask you a question.
That deal sucks, man.
Let me ask you a question. How do we get from where we are now to peace?
Well, first of all, you need to change the perception. Nikki Haley, the American presidential candidate, said, we are in Israel in this because it's a fight between good and evil. Now, if you already decided someone is good, he can do no evil. And if you decided someone is evil, it's good to kill them. Killing them is good. You see, and the thing is, it is not like something new. I mean, I look at history and I see, I'm sorry to say this, but Westerners has always dealt like this with indigenous people. You first treated them like savages, Native American, First Nation, Aboriginal. They're savages. Kill all the savages. And then when they're almost extinct, you start feeling sorry for them, like animals. So maybe the solution is that we kill as many Palestinians as possible so the few of them that remains do not bother you. And maybe Netanyahu, when he lives,
he's so right. Dude, if you drop the land back meme in here, land acknowledgement meme in here, it's like Felix has made that joke as well. It's great. He's right.
For another 100 years, he'll become a tree hugger.
Let me just challenge you on this.
And he will campaign for preserving the three Palestinian.
You keep talking about Westerners like me. Okay, so let me return the favor, okay? Hamas is dedicated to the complete eradication of Jewish people.
I am not the spokesman for Hamas.
I'm not saying you are.
Why do you keep...
I'm not saying you are.
I'm not their spokesman.
You're talking to me.
I fucking hate them.
Bassem,
fuck Hamas. Hamas.
No,
are you happy?
Hamas.
You're talking in a generalized way about people in the West who always talk about Arabs as savages. I don't.
No. I'm talking about America.
I actually led the campaign. I led the media campaign in this country against the Iraq War. Okay, so I don't see... I don't see people in the Middle East as savages.
You are one of the good ones.
But what I would say is...
I'm not talking about you. You're great.
No, it's not about me being great. It's about, love you. It's about the way Hamas behaved on October the 7th was like savages, like a pack of savages. It was the worst atrocity against Jewish people since the Holocaust. There has to be...
Of course.
There has to be a response.
They should be eradicated.
My question for you is, notwithstanding the history, Bassem, what is the proportionate response?
But I don't know, but there's no Hamas in the West Bank and they're still dying there. So what's your excuse?
I don't have any excuse.
Okay, what's your explanation? Sorry.
I mean, I have an answer for this. 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 Okay? And it's very simple. One, there is a military action that you could take that Israel does not want to take because it doesn't have enough confidence in its own troops. Okay? You could do a fucking targeted strike on areas where you know there are Hamas tunnels. You claim you know every single thing that's going on in Gaza. You could easily do this. You don't want to do this because you are afraid. You're afraid that the IDF is going to die if they go in there. Okay? So it's much easier for you to just keep lobbing missiles from hundreds of feet above the ground over the on top of the clouds, basically, from afar, by hitting a fucking button over and over again instead of actually going down there. Those missiles kill humans. Those missiles kill civilians. Those missiles kill babies, and you don't care because it is completely irrelevant to the equation because you do not see the Palestinians as human beings. You see them as filth, not even an animal. You would not mistreat an animal like this. You see them as a pest. Okay? So that's one. Number two, there is an even better way to solve the conflict. Okay? That is through a ceasefire, a peace negotiation, a bilateral peace negotiation that features the actual Palestinian unified authorities, okay, with after ending the occupation and ending the apartheid regime, allowing every single person to have equal rights and offering reparations to the Palestinians that were harmed, okay, having a international criminal court take a look at every single person that was responsible for civilian deaths. This means that a lot of leadership on the Palestinian side would serve a prison sentence. This means that a lot of the IDF leadership and politicians would serve a prison sentence. Okay? That is the peaceful way to resolve this conflict. And even if you're like, no, fuck that, I never want that, whatever, okay, then there is a military way to solve this issue as well that does not mean bombing fucking hospitals. That does not mean, and by the way, if you turn in and say, the IDF didn't bomb this last hospital, Hassan, even though I do not believe you, okay, even though I do believe that the IDF bombed that hospital, the IDF bombed that hospital on Saturday! So shut the fuck up! But remember that. That exact same hospital was targeted by the IDF. Twitter is full of bots. Anyway, let's
telling
continue.
you there is no Hamas in the West Bank. What is the excuse? Not your excuse. What is the excuse to kill those people?
Well, listen, this question of proportionality is one that...
No, answer my question. I've been answering your question. You answer mine.
It's actually not my job to answer your questions.
He says this all the time whenever he has a thing that he can't answer.
It's not.
Okay, not your job.
Not.
I agree with you.
I'm more interested in you, who has family in Gaza, who's an Egyptian in the Middle East, right? I'm more interested in what you have to say.
Okay, I'm telling you. I think Hamas is the problem, okay?
Right.
Now, let's say Hamas is removed. Let's Hamas, I'm agreeing with everything. You want me to condemn Hamas? I will condemn Hamas, Hummus, Hassan, everybody. Guys, say wait. I can't hear you. The earpiece. Damn. Okay. Oops.
There's Hamas in the earpiece, bro. The IFB's coming off.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I do need help.
I think.
Okay.
Just go back. Is he there?
You go back. You go.
Can you hear
back?
me?
Okay. Go. Thank you, guys.
Can you hear Bassem?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Can you hear? Okay.
Yeah.
So Isaac, let's say, for example, Hamas ceased to exist. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hamas ceased to exist today. Now, right now, in Palestine, in West Bank and Gaza, 20% of Palestinians go through Israeli prison system, whether imprisonment, whether interrogation, whether torture. And the rest of them, they live a life of daily loss of land, of homes, of life, and they are suffocated by this. So let me ask you something. If you are a Palestinian living into these conditions for decades, would you sympathize with your oppressor, or sympathize with the people who claim they resist them even if they are terrorists?
I have made no secret that I think the conditions Palestinians have had to exist under are completely unacceptable. Yeah. I've said that for years.
Yeah, but do you think they're responsible? But do you think they're responsible for the radicalization of an entire people's? Also, it is actually pretty funny because, yeah, literally, wait, I'm a big fan of this Bassem guy. Yeah, he's hot. Yeah, he's super hot. So, Piers literally dodges questions. He cannot fucking ever answer if he condemns the Israeli disproportionate retaliation and the violence. He does not. He openly says he thinks it's fine. or at the very least refuses to elaborate on it and always dodges it.
How do you forge peace between two warring parts of that region who for decades have approached peace, in my view, with mutual sledgehammers, with no actual desire to have peace? And I think it comes down in the end to great leadership. And I don't think there's great leadership. I don't think, well, hang on, let me make my point. I don't think there's great leadership on either side. Where is the Nelson Mandela figure here to come through all this?
Sniped by an IDF sniper and killed. Nelson Mandela also literally refused to condemn violence. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Nelson Mandela was in prison. I've told you guys this before. Nelson Mandela has been so fucking whitewashed. But the ANC tried peaceful protests for years. There was a massive police presence at all the protests. It did nothing to end the apartheid. They thought that they could get mass arrested. Their first action was to peacefully violate the laws and get mass arrested, right? They would non-violently engage in civil disobedience. They thought maybe we can overrun the prison system by crowding it. Little did they know that didn't work. The prison system did not explode due to the all of the black people that were resisting apartheid with civil disobedience. Now, after that, they still continuously kept trying to do peaceful protests. Okay? They try to keep doing peaceful protests until at one protest, the police opened fire and killed 69 ANC protesters at the time. Nelson Mandela had a moment of radicalization right then and there. In the aftermath of that, he realized that, yes, there had to have been, he realized that the actual supporters of the ANC on the ground, the youth, wanted to retaliate through violent means. They no longer wanted to retaliate through peaceful means because the world was not listening to them. The world was not seeing them. Okay? One thing that he has said on this matter in particular was, we've exhausted all other means. I'm paraphrasing. We've exhausted all other means, and now this is the only other option we have. Okay? Afterwards, Nelson Mandela went to Ethiopia, where he started training with rebel groups there. Then he went to Algeria, where Algeria was also going through its anti-colonial and very violent purging of the French forces that occupied Algeria at the time. He learned from revolutionary figures such as Fidel Castro. He openly said that. And he learned directly from these anti-colonial actions, violent anti-colonial actions. Came back home and it was immediately arrested. At this point, I'm not reading this off of a page, brother, but thank you for thinking that I'm reading this off of a page, because you're like, wow, this guy is spitting so fucking hard. He must literally be the most knowledgeable person on the planet. Just kidding. He probably isn't the most knowledgeable person on the planet. He must be reading like a Wikipedia page or something, because that's what my favorite YouTubers do. No, I'm spitting off the top dome, okay? I'm spitting off the top dome because I can't fucking remember all of the things and all of the details. So I might be getting some stuff wrong. Like, yeah, no, he wasn't immediately arrested. He operated for some time after coming back, like I think a year or two. But basically, in the grand scheme of things, considering how long his prison sentence was, he did not have enough time to operate through violent means. However, he did have enough time to go back to the ANC and tell them that we are no longer engaging in peaceful means of protest, that violence is permissible against the apartheid structure. Okay? So, once he was arrested, I think the militant group that like spawned off of the ANC or collaborated alongside the ANC was like the Spear, I think. I don't want to get it wrong. Little Bear, what is the name of the Spear? It's the MK, I think, right? Yeah. I don't know the yeah, well, okay, don't give me the fucking Spear of the Nation. Thank you. Someone said the actual name, Umkhonto Wesizwe. Umkhonto Wesizwe, also known as MK, but also known as, I think, is the Spirit of the Nation, is the group that I was thinking of. Anyway, so throughout that entire time, there were massive, there were a lot of attacks. Okay? There were a lot of attacks against police. There were attacks against civilians. Okay? People were, and these were very violent attacks. This is part of the reason why, and this is the paramilitary wing of the African National Congress, and was founded by Nelson Mandela in the wake of the Sharpeville massacre that I told you, where 69 apartheid protesters were murdered ruthlessly by the South African government. Okay? There was a lot of violence that they engaged in, of course. And this is part of the reason why Nelson Mandela was on the terrorist watch list until 2008. Even after he was released from prison, and on top of that was democratically elected. And yet, until 2008, he still was on the terrorist watch list in the United States of America. Okay? The manifesto referred to by Mandela, adduced by the prosecution in his trial as Exhibit AD, included the statements: "Our men are armed and trained freedom fighters, not terrorists. We are fighting for democracy, majority rule, the right of the Africans to rule Africa. We are fighting for a South Africa in which there will be peace and harmony and equal rights for all people. We are not racialists, as the white oppressors are. The African National Congress has a message of freedom for all who live in our country." Now I'm reading from the page. This is what he said. Okay? Their aim was to act only against hard targets such as power pylons and avoid injury or loss of life. But of course, no matter what happens in the domestic campaign, there still were bombings where there were still people that were injured, civilians that were injured. Church Street bombing in 1983 was detonated in Pretoria near the Air Force headquarters, resulting in 19 deaths and 217 injuries. The Amazim Toti bombing in 1985 in the natal South Coast, 5 civilians were killed and 40 were injured when Umkhonto Wesizwe cadre Andrew Sibusiso Zondo detonated an explosive in a rubbish bin at a shopping center. Okay? The Durban beachfront bombing in 1986, a bomb detonated in a bar, killed 3 civilians and injured 69. Robert McBride received the death penalty for this bombing, and this bombing became known as the Magoo's Bar bombing. Now I am reading off of a page. Yes. What the fuck? I'm showing you what I'm reading. It's impossible for me to remember every single minutia, you fucking dinguses. Clearly, I have to, if I want to give you the most accurate information, even though this is also summarized, I'm going to read at certain points, okay? Now, what is important here? Well, let me tell you what's important, okay? Civilian deaths, of course, occurred in the bombing campaigns. There were also other brutal practices. I'm not going to get into it too much because why did I start talking about this? I started talking about this because time and time again, they went back to Nelson Mandela. Time and time again, they went back to Nelson Mandela when he was imprisoned and said, "Nelson, we will release you from prison as long as you condemn violence, as long as you condemn violence and condemn Marxism, condemn socialism, condemn communism, and condemn violence as an emancipatory means." Nelson Mandela said, first by way of his daughter, I believe, and also, or was it a sister? And also personally said, "No, I will not condemn the violence." He said, "And I will not condemn Marxism, I will not condemn communism, I will not condemn socialism, and I will not condemn violence." The reason why I will not condemn it is because of the situation that is presented to me. How can I be treated as an equal when I am enslaved by you, when I'm in chains, when I am subjected to chains? How can you ask a man to make claims when you do not treat him like a man? When you treat him like an animal? And they kept asking him over and over again, and he said no. And each time he said no, and he still stayed in prison for 5 fucking years. So the idea is that Yeah, but they skipped that over in his biopic. Yeah, of course they skipped that over in his biopic because they only cover what Nelson Mandela did after he was elected. Once he got out of prison. Why did they cover that? Because that was the peaceful reconciliation process. That's where he went and he fucking hugged and kissed the prosecutor that said he should get the death penalty. He hugged and kissed all the white guys. They never ended up doing the expropriation that was supposed to happen. And that's partially the reason why South Africa's economy is as fucked as it is pretty much during the apartheid. But at least like there is no apartheid. Okay? Now anyway, the point is... capitalists were like, all right, we'll throw the racism away as long as we can still keep the same class dynamic where 90% of the viable land is still owned by 10% of the population, 10% of the population that happens to be white. So there's a lesson to be learned there. There's a lesson to be learned there. And that lesson is Piers Morgan is a fucking fraud who doesn't know anything about history, and he's just simply using whitewashed revolutionary figures throughout time because he's a fucking dumbass who thinks that Nelson Mandela was like Gandhi. He was like hugging and kissing all the white boys, all the quirked up white boys, and that's why they were like, you know what? Fuck, man. We decided it's actually bad to be racist, man. Fuck. That's what they did. And then they were like, yeah, nobody said kill the Boers. They did White Boy Summer. They fucking, they hugged and kissed, and they ended apartheid. That's how it worked. Thank you, Piers Morgan. Where's the fucking Nelson Mandela is a fucking idiotic question when you don't know anything about the history of South African apartheid. Anyway, all right.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, where is that figure?
Nelson Mandela actually have criticized Israel for being a horrible state. All of the South African activists have actually called Israel.
My point is
yes.
about how he...
See, you should have just fucking lobbed that bullet back at him. But you know, that is a history lesson for a different time, I guess. Jesus Christ, worst accent ever dropped. Okay, stop. I know. My South African needs better. It needs work. I know. Sport boycotts, football, and sanctions had a huge impact on the end of the apartheid. It fucked. There's no equivalent in Israel. Yes, partially because the BDS campaign that was successful in playing a role in the end of the apartheid alongside the violent emancipatory actions, okay, was shut down. It was shut down. You can't do it. In 36 states, if you want to have a job, there is legislation that says BDS protests and having a job are, not permissible at the same time. If you want to engage in the act of supporting the boycott, divest, and put sanctions on Israel movement, that means you can't have a job. Like in Texas, if you're a public school teacher, you have to sign a fucking, literally sign a form that says you will never boycott or engage in boycotting the state of Israel and companies that work in the state of Israel. Think about that. Now, the other reason why... What was in 2009? The other reason why there is no Nelson Mandela in this equation is because the Palestinians have also tried peacefully to resist and have been killed time and time again. As a matter of fact, the Palestinians didn't even try to resist at all and still got killed in the inception of the Israeli state. Sure, there were riots. There were riots in the 20s leading to the British mandate refusing to allow more Jewish immigration at the time when Jewish immigration was an absolute necessity for understandable reasons because of the anti-Semitism that was popping off, even though, of course, they did not allow Jewish people to seek refuge in America either, but that's besides the point. Pape wrote about this. The people who taught the very first Zionist immigrants how to tend crops were the Palestinian natives. Yes. Anyway, as I was saying, what I was trying to explain is that many of the Palestinians that tried to peacefully resist were killed. Many of the Palestinians that also tried to peacefully negotiate were killed. So the notion that, a peaceful consideration has not occurred, a peaceful means of like ending the occupation has not occurred is a stupid one. Anyway, let's continue.
How he responded to a country that was so divided is a template for how you get to peace, isn't it?
Who's Lucas Gage?
I haven't met Nelson Mandela, so I wouldn't know. But like, there is a point. There's a very important point here. I want to understand what is the logic of Israel.
Yeah, see, he doesn't know because his fucking history has been so goddamn whitewashed, brother. You're Egyptian. It's the same continent, homie. Goddamn. Anyway, it's okay. There's more happening. So.
Carpet bombing Gaza. I mean, if there's a logic, if this will make Israel safe, I want to hear the logic. So if they continue bombing, what are they hoping to achieve?
Well, I think we know what their stated aim is. Their stated aim is to eradicate and wipe out Hamas. They believe Hamas are living predominantly in northern Gaza. They also are aware they're living amongst civilians. So it's an incredibly difficult thing. As I said in my monologue, it is very, very difficult to see how they do this without massive collateral damage.
So if I can understand this correctly, basically Israel is doing this to pressure the Palestinian community in Gaza to turn against Hamas. Is that right?
I'm sure that's part of it, yes.
That's part of it. So this is exactly what terrorist organizations do, because terrorist organizations will have no chance beating a whole nation in battle.
Lucas Gage is a literal neo-Nazi who is Israel because his majority is Jewish. Yeah, I don't know who the fuck that guy is, but I'm not looking at this shit anyway. There's a bunch of people that in the criticisms of Israel have like found a new fame, I guess. And a lot of them are charlatans. I refuse to click on their links. I don't know who the fuck that other guy was. But I don't give a shit about who the other guy is.
So they terrorize and they kill the civilians in order to spread fear and terror so they can turn against their government to change their policy or to resign. You have just compared Israel with ISIS.
No, I haven't. I don't see any comparison between
It's going to be the headlines tomorrow. Piers Morgan, Israel is ISIS.
Only amongst people who weren't listening. The comparison, which is more apposite, is ISIS and Hamas. They are both nihilistic terror groups intent on killing as many Jewish people and others as they can possibly kill. And you can't get peace with people like that.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to do something that nobody done on your television. You know what I'm going to do on your episode? I'm going to pretend that I'm an Israeli citizen. I'm going to put myself in the place of an Israeli settler in the kibbutz. And I want to speak to my Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, I have voted for you because you have promised us peace and prosperity and security. On the 7th of October, those son of bitches Hamas, they went into the fence that is regularly heavily guarded. Usually if there's like a dove that comes close to it, it will be shot. Those people went in and they went for 6 hours before IDF forces was deployed, killing our friends, our families, kidnapping our grandmothers and babies, and went in. I want to ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, after you have fractured the Israeli community and you have fucked our courts, our Supreme Courts, what are you doing with the money being given to you, to the United States? Also, you are carpet bombing Gaza with absolutely no regard to our hostages, our people. I heard a rumor in the kibbutz that you're doing that you let that happen as an excuse to carpet bomb Gaza, so you push them into Sinai. And I didn't believe that. That's like, not my prime minister. He can never do that. And then I watched an interview for Danny Ayalon. He was your chief advisor.
Okay. First of all, no fucking Likud voter would ever say that. Every Likud voter would literally be like, I voted for you. Why are you not carpet bombing Gaza harder, you fucking piece of shit? Do I have to literally take matters in my own hands? I ran the ad incorrectly. I ran a 1 minute ad break, unfortunately, and I ran it at the top of the hour already.
Advisor. He was also the Israeli ambassador to the United States. And you know what he said, Mr. Prime Minister? He said that the solution for those Palestinians is to go into a vast land of Sinai and live into tent cities temporarily, temporarily, wink wink, until we build Gaza again, and then we invite you back. يعني عبط احنا بقى. يعني فاهمني؟ As we've seen this movie before. So يعني, and when I saw this, I couldn't explain to my fellows in the kibbutz, how come our Israeli government is trading human lives for another piece of land? So as an Israeli citizen, I need to hold my Israeli government accountable. And as an American citizen, I want to know, all of these money that we are giving to Israel, we're giving them $4 billion every year. Joe Biden said it's the best investment America ever done. Well, if I am in the place of Joe Biden, I would say, sorry, don't speak. I would say, if I was Joe Biden, I would go down and whisper in the ears of Netanyahu and tell them, I hate bad investment. They haunt me, like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. But the thing is, this is the problem. Israel always victimizes itself, and I have never seen a victim putting their oppressor under siege and bombing them 24/7. Israel wants you to believe that they are the victim. Dealing with Israel is so difficult. It's like being in a relationship with a narcissistic psychopath. He fucks you up, and then he makes you think it's your fault.
All right,
you
Bassem.
Look at Israel as Superman, but they're really Homelander. Wallahi, they are shooting
Bassem,
fish in a barrel, and they are annoyed with the splashes.
Bassem, I want to say two things. One, if you could just slightly manage your language. We are uncensored, but if you keep swearing,
I'm very sorry.
We have to apologize to viewers who may be offended by that.
I apologize.
But I understand passion.
Bro, that's so funny. Like every night they're doing different types of justifications for endless amounts of genocide. And then they fucking turn around. They fucking turn around and literally turn around and say, "Oh, you can't curse, you can't curse, you can't curse." Wait, what do you mean?
Run high, so let's not get too bogged down about the old swear word.
I apologize to the viewers. I apologize to the viewers for my language.
My second question is this:
after the sight of dead civilians.
After the break, we have the managing director of the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's company. We were going to interview him on his own, but he's happy to come on and talk with you directly if you are prepared to stay.
Well, of course, I can stay, but again, I am I am in a disadvantage, and I would like to have my space to respond.
Okay, we'll come back after the break.
Because
wait, who is he bringing? Bibi or Ben, or Shapiro?
because here's the thing. There's two things
we're
going
to go to a break. All right. When we come back from the break, it'll be you and Jeremy Boring from the Daily Wire.
I have news.
We're taking a short break, Bassem. I'll be back. Welcome back to Uncensored. For more on the situation in Israel, I'm joined now by the CEO and co-founder of the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's partner, Jeremy Boring. Jeremy.
Oh, dude, what the fuck? That sucks. Not Ben.
Thank you very much indeed for joining me. I'm sorry we demoted you earlier to mere MD. You are the CEO and co-founder. You know Ben Shapiro better than anyone, really. I did a big interview with Ben, obviously, the other night, which went around the world and has sparked a big reaction, including from our guest, Bassem Youssef, who's still with us. First of all, you've been listening to Bassem and what he's been saying. What's your response?
Well, first of all, I make it a point not to speak for Ben Shapiro. He's got a 20 IQ points on me and speaks for a living professionally, so he's much better to defend himself. But as his business partner, as his best friend, I do feel like I have to respond to the things that Bassem was just saying. First of all, the question of how many sons of bitches.
Oh my God. I hate this. It's so nerdy. It's like Revenge of the Nerds. It's like, I'm going to respond to my best friend. I'm going to respond for my like, shut the fuck up, bitch. I don't give a, this sucks. I wish it was Ben Shapiro.
Just have to be killed in order to end this conflict. I suppose that the answer is as many of them as it takes. That doesn't mean that I or Ben or any decent person in their right mind is happy with the killing of civilians.
Yeah, you are though. You are fucking happy with it, and you don't give a shit. You're so fucking stupid. I hate this. God damn it, I hate it. I hate it, but like, I guess at least they're dishonest. Okay. I guess they're dishonest. There's a lot of dishonest people. All right, fuck it. Let's just keep going.
I posted at the very beginning of this conflict that a woman or a child blown apart in Gaza is just as tragic as a Jewish baby killed in one of the settlements. That doesn't mean that Israel's actions and the actions of Hamas are morally equivalent. You know, the tragedy is the tragedy, but the moral equivalency is nonsense. If you entered Israel with the express purpose of targeting and murdering civilians with your own hands in cold blood, that is not comparable to Israel bombing targets in the Gaza Strip and killing civilians as a terrible, tragic consequence. War is terrible. War is an awful thing. That's why decent people don't lightly engage in war, and why Hamas should not have incited this war. You know, we can talk about the history of the Israeli conflict. I'm not a professional political commentator. I'm a CEO. I'm a screenwriter.
I can't stand him. I can't.
And I'm certainly not Ben Shapiro. I'm not here to discuss the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but we all saw what happened on October 7th. And the idea that Israel was not going to react severely to that, or that Israel should not react severely to that, is ludicrous. And
Jeremy, let me ask you
that Ben Shapiro should be a moderating voice, that Ben Shapiro should be, saying, no, Israel should not respond in this situation.
For the record, going back to the geolocation guy or whatever, what is it? The geo-confirm guy? Guys, everyone is rushing to be like, no, this is actually a rocket. This is an intercepted rocket, and that's where the explosion happened, without accounting for multiple explosions possibly happening in different time frames. Okay, and also how large the original explosion was from the only confirmed video. I just want to point that out because I see a lot of people trying to. Yeah, I see a lot of people trying to send me this information. The current Israeli position is that the single rocket misfire killed more people by a factor about 20 than every single rocket launched into Israel since 2001 combined. Yeah. Should the West Bank respond to the violence committed by Israeli settlers? Why does no one ever flip it around like this? Yeah. I mentioned that. Reuters, by the way, is reporting that the IDF will release footage of intercepted conversations proving that the Islamic Jihad was behind the bombing of Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. Yeah, two hours ago, the Israeli government sources were calling the Baptist Hospital a terrorist base, and the IDF was boasting about having euthanized Gazans. Now they see how disgusted the world is. IDF is trying to tell us that the backfired rocket from Islamic Jihad is responsible. Yeah, I mean, I know. I covered it at the time. Okay. Communities out in full force doing all the anti-Muslim sentiment, blaming everything on Hamas. So that's why you're getting a shit ton of debate lords today. Yeah, not only am I getting a shit ton of debate lords on that front, I think there's another like clip-chipped video of me going around or some shit. I don't even know what it's fucking about. But at this point, it's like 90% people being like I see the commentary and it's literally Hasan is a Muslim and that's why he believes this. and he's anti-Semitic. Because he's a Muslim. And I'm like, dude, you are so insane. You are literally a white supremacist saying this. How can you be this fucking stupid? How? It is so fucking insane that I got people who quite literally are like hyping up white supremacist dudes, like white supremacist content creators, coming in here to be like, dude, I can't stand how anti-Semitic and Islamophobic you are. Also, you're a fucking Muslim ape. Like, come on, dude. Hasan, why are you saying this when it's not confirmed 100%? Why is the media saying it's 100% a Hamas rocket that blew up on its own? I told you why I believe that it is IDF. I told you exactly what the proof is that I believe it is IDF. I could still very well be wrong. Is Geo confirmed on Twitter propaganda machine? No. Geo confirmed. What Geo confirmed is not factoring in for some weird reason, okay? What Geo confirmed is not factoring in is that there could have been multiple bombings, and that does not account for the bombing that is shown. Here's why. Okay? Here's why it doesn't account for it. Because you could have literally had a fucking JDAM slam into that hospital while the interception was occurring in the rocket barrage, which is most likely what happened if it is at the same time frame. You can't be wrong, Hasan. You'll never hear the end of it. I don't give a fuck. I'll never hear the end of it. And what? And what? All of those people who call me a fucking monkey and who call me Hamas or HasanAbi are going to say that I'm wrong. All of those exact same people have been literally nonstop microanalyzing my fucking footage of me crying to be like, dude, we got him. He's lying here. These are fake tears. They literally think I am not a human, okay? They think I am the manifestation of evil. They think I'm worse than Nick fucking Fuentes, a literal Nazi. What can I do in that situation? They say I'm wrong when I'm right all the fucking time. It doesn't matter. They ask, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? I have condemned Hamas more than 1,000 fucking times, okay? More than 1,000 times. They say, look at him. He secretly actually loves Hamas. When he says he's condemning Hamas, he's actually doing it, but like, I know, I can tell. I can tell the mind of the the Muslimic ape is a conniving one. I can tell he sneakily loves Hamas. He loves it. It's fucking ridiculous. That's all. Dude. There are fucking communities out there that have only given a shit about what I have said. Way more than like the Israelis that died. Significantly more than the Palestinians that died. Obviously, they don't give a shit about that part. But like, they care more about what I've said so they can fucking twist and distort what I'm saying into something I've not said. At a certain point, you have to fucking pull yourself out of that situation. Okay? You have to pull yourself out of that situation to be like, what the fuck am I doing? And you know you're in here right now. You know many of you are in here right now. It is Nobody so said kill the Boers. Good for you, dude.
They did White Boy Summer.
I'm not as fucking evil as you think I am. You know, they hugged and kissed and they ended apartheid. That's how it worked. Motherfuckers that sit in my Discord server all day, which has 100,000 people in it, right? There's 100,000 people in it. They sit in the Discord server all fucking day and they try to find someone saying something fucking unhinged so they can clip it and fucking send it to like Ethan to be like, see, this is Hasan's community. It's so nutty, dude. That is not healthy for you. I promise. They screen recorded the conversation. They screen recorded my Discord literally simultaneously while Ethan and I were having a conversation. It's so crazy. Like, how do you do that? That is cyber. That's a cyber sickness at that point. That's psycho shit. It's so psychotic. It feels surreal. You know what I mean when I describe it. Anyway, I don't think I'll be able to ever convince some of these people that I am not the fucking lolcow that they think I am, or the evil person that they think I am. But I do think that ultimately you should probably maybe take a step away from that. Okay? Specifically for your own good. All right? And ultimately it doesn't matter. I will continue this coverage, and this community is fucking awesome. I literally saw a Reddit post that was like, hey, maybe in the spirit of fairness, we should mention when Hasan does good, and it's so many comments insisting that they don't care. No, there's the only political perspective that a lot of people have in certain communities is that just I'm bad. I'm a bad person. I'm an evil person. I'm a manifestation of all things evil. I'm a secret tanky. I'm an open tanky. So, enough about these people. They will never go away. I hope that they do for their own sake, because it's not good for you to have that kind of, to have that level of like animosity towards someone you've never met, that is someone you will never see charitably. But also, regardless of all of that, regardless of all the psychotic stuff that's going on in the background, listen, this community is awesome. This community is wonderful. We've almost raised $1 million over the course of 3 days. That is unimaginable, okay? It's unimaginable. And I'm very proud. I'm very proud of this community. I love you guys all. This is important work. This is very good. And I'm very happy that we were able to do such a thing.
And that's nonsense.
Let me ask you though, Jeremy, the question which I think is the big question. What is a proportionate response to that outrage on October the 7th, which is the worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust? What is proportionate? If it's true, as reports are suggesting tonight, that there may have been a hospital hit by an Israeli strike and up to 500 people or more have died, that would seem to me, if that is verified, and it's not verified yet, we don't know exactly what has happened other than there's been a hit on this hospital. But if that is verified to have been an Israeli strike, that will strike many people as disproportionate.
Certainly. Well, first of all, I don't know what a proportionate response is or why we would want it. I suppose a proportionate response would be for 3,000 Israelis to go through the fence, gun down innocent Palestinian women and children, burn their bodies, burn them alive, take hostages, rape their women. No one wants a proportionate response. No moral person could possibly call for a proportionate response. The purpose of war is to defeat your enemy. The West has, in my lifetime, forgotten the purpose of war because the true cost of war is so...
Like, I hate this, like, slimy little fucking creature nerd being like, the West has forgotten what the war is like. Bro, I want to drop ship his ass into fucking Gaza so bad. Like... Just go fight then. Ain't nobody stopping you, dude. Get in there. Get active. I hate this. I hate it so much. He's like, we have to destroy our enemies. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Go to Ukraine. Well, he's not a Ukraine guy. He probably fucking loves Russia, actually. Go to Russia. Yeah. Go fight on the Russian side. Go to Ukraine. Fight on the Russian side, brother. See how fast you get fucking lasered. You know what I'm saying? Keyboard commander ass motherfucker.
Terrible. The last time the West engaged in war and won it was World War II. And they did it through incredible brutality. They did it by bringing their enemies to heel. That's not a thing to rah-rah about. That's not a thing to look forward to. As I said, all decent people should avoid war. But I think the sort of lie of the post-World War II, the post-war consensus lie, is that somehow war in which you kill a bunch of people and don't secure victory is morally superior to war where you do secure victory. I would say that the only way to morally justify a war is to win it. Otherwise, the very argument that brought you into the war, this enemy must be defeated, ends up being proven a lie. I mean, Afghanistan, I think America had every right to go into Afghanistan. The Taliban was harboring Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda.
Dude, here, in order to describe to you the wrong thing that Israel is doing, I'm going to tell you all the wrong things that America did. It's so funny to be like, yeah, remember when we did that other awful thing that was fucking awful and horrifying? And just really bad overall that most people kind of look back at and go, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that thing was sick, actually, and I'm glad that Israel is doing it. This is funny. It is. I can't do anything but laugh at, like, this little fucking nerdy-ass fascist being like, it was so sick when we went into Afghanistan and we did might is right and we did war crimes there. And it's like, nah, man, it wasn't good.
Flew planes into buildings in the United States, killed thousands of our citizens, brought the nation into untold agony, pain, and horror. America had every right morally to go in and destroy the Taliban and destroy Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, but I would argue,
the Taliban now rules in Afghanistan.
But that's my point.
Yeah. Wait, what? Exactly. Taliban now rules Al-Qaeda. The Taliban now rules Afghanistan again. So what happened?
War was not won.
But that's my point, actually.
Oh, he's saying, like, we didn't fucking ethnically cleanse every Afghan child. That's what he's saying. Oh, okay. No. He didn't understand the point that he was trying to make. The point is, exactly, the Taliban controls Afghanistan now and grew in popularity and also in size after the fucking invasion, even though they were getting killed. Why? Because every time you killed one fucking Taliban fighter, you killed like 8 14-year-old citizens that had nothing to do with the fucking Taliban. So then guess what happened to the remaining 14-year-olds? They were like, oh, fuck these guys. I'm joining the fucking Taliban. I'm going to fucking snipe their dicks off. Yeah, no shit. Of course that's what's going to happen. That's what happens. You get a radicalizing event. You go, all right, fuck it, YOLO. I don't know who the fuck these guys are. They don't speak my language. They're in like all this gear and shit. At least these other guys, like the non-pedophile ones, I'm on board with. You know what I mean? The pedophile ones are working with the American military brigades. The trying to get me to be a chaiwala at the fucking base so they can, do statutory rape. All things that were documented by the American military, by the way. Anyway, I think this bombing is what they were talking about yesterday for 8 hours. No, this is this is new. This just happened, and that's why they're bringing up the hospital bombing at the end of this.
I've done a column about this tonight for the Sun here in the UK.
Wait, what? What are you talking about? Holy moly! What am I talking about? What am I talking about? In Afghanistan, the Afghan forces that the American security forces were supposed to be fucking training had a big pedophilia problem. Okay, that's right, it did. And then some of those forces that we trained would then turn around and buddy fuck the American soldiers that were training them. They would turn around, take the American weapons, and fucking kill the American soldiers. It happened so goddamn frequently. It's almost like it was a hospital full of terrorists. Yeah, no, totally. I hope you're being sarcastic, right? Yeah. Doctors, nurses, children, babies in incubators doing terrorism by being alive. Terrorist babies, dude. I think this person has to be joking. No one is like this fucking stupid. There's no shot. McCarthy gone, communism won. Does this mean Hunter is guilty? I feel like a lot of people who fancy themselves to be like, woke or whatever, just like turn on the fucking fascism dial so fast. There's no shot this guy fucking legitimately believes that. Please think about it a little bit. Please comment on the Israeli dude wearing a key. I don't think he's Israeli. I don't know why he's wearing the key. Maybe to like taunt Palestinians or something. Maybe, but I think it's just, is he even Jewish? I don't know. I don't know why he's wearing a key. Maybe he likes doing coke.
Which is, I was editor of a newspaper when the Iraq War happened. I opposed it very aggressively as the editor of the paper. And sadly, we were borne out by events. It was a complete disaster.
The only thing that makes me happy, I'm sorry, what does the key signify? The key is actually very important for Palestinians. It is a signifier of their right to return. That 700,000 Palestinians that were expelled in the Nakba, which translates to catastrophe, thought that they would be able to return to their houses after the war was over. That, they were being purged from their homes, but they would always, of course, a couple of weeks, maybe a month later, be able to return. That's why they brought their keys with them. They still hold their keys. They still have their keys with them to their old houses, many of which was, of course, reduced to rubble, and then purposely European-looking pine trees were planted in areas where Arab villages existed to Europeanize the areas and to remove it from its Arabic influence. Another thing that they did during the Nakba, or in the aftermath of the Nakba, in the inception of the Israeli state, was to take over areas that were, of course, owned by Arabs, the villages that Arabs lived in, expel them by threatening to rape them, and in some instances actually raping them, throwing them in ovens, things of that nature. And just overall terrifying them with a superior military force. They would also just take over villages and then change the names of those villages to resemble something from like the Bible, so that they could just so that they could have a Hebrew name for an Arab village and try to justify that there's a biblical reason for it. What was the pedo thing you were talking about? Chaiwalas in Afghanistan were raped by the forces that we were training. There was a big pedophilia problem with the Afghan forces that we were training. called Bachabazi. Torah, not the Bible. Yeah, Torah references, biblical references, that sort of thing. All right, let's continue.
The Iraq War, in my view, it was illegally contested, I think. And the consequences were appalling in terms of loss of life, 1 million people, in terms of ISIS being allowed to breed.
Oh, it's because Daily Wire is owned by Bent Key Ventures. The name, which was inspired by a bent key necklace boring wearer, is also the name. Okay, there you go. That's why he's wearing a bent key necklace.
And create
Thank you, Chatter.
merry hell around the world in terms of complete dismantlement of Iraq itself as a functioning country. And I think
I didn't say the Taliban had chaiwalas. I said the Afghan security forces that we were supposedly training on the ground did that. Chai boys.
Afghanistan, again, 20 years of attacking an enemy, which is now running the country again, seemed to me, again, to be kind of pointless. And I do wonder whether Israel, in its blind fury, which I completely understand, has thought through the consequences of actually launching a full air, ground, and sea offensive into Gaza as to actually what happened.
Wait, your aunt made that movie? I watched it last night. Arctic Lead, tell your aunt. She's wonderful. I actually watched, and I was recommending this earlier today. I watched 1948, Creation and Catastrophe. Ahlam Muhtaseb. Yeah, it is a very good documentary that doesn't even just like, it's not like a one-sided affair either. It goes directly to Irgun forces that are veterans, like, veterans of the original Zionist militant brigades and they talk to the veterans that are alive to this day. They even talk to a fucking British police officer, as a matter of fact, which I thought was very interesting. And they talk to the Palestinians. They talk to the Jews that were there, and the atrocities that were committed. Some of which has been declassified, but many of which is still not declassified by the Israeli government. And it's very good. It's a very good documentary. I highly recommend you all watch it. Like I said, 1948, Creation and Catastrophe. I think the reason why I like it especially is because, like, it... thank you, Hassan, for all the cover you've been doing these past week. You don't realize how important it is for us Palestinians, especially in the West Bank. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a great documentary. It's very sad, but it's a great documentary nonetheless. Some doctored video and audio is going to come out. The prime minister is going to come on and make a video claiming it's undeniable proof that the IDF would never strike civilians because it's not the rules of war. The IDF controls all forms of media coming in and out. There's no electricity and internet inside of Gaza, except for the fact that, one video did get out, and that video very clearly shows that it is a giant missile. It is not a rocket, but it is a giant missile. But you can tell by the number of dead. Yeah, it was a rocket. It was a piece of the Hamas rocket. You see it blow up in the sky and pieces scatter. Brother, please, I urge you to exercise a little bit of critical thinking. A rocket that was intercepted is not capable of doing that damage that you saw. Fucking, oh my God. Why? Why are you so quick? No, that video is not debunked. The video that they're showing, there were some videos that were debunked that Israel themselves posted and then deleted. But the potential that it also hit ammo, that is not what it looks like when it hits ammunition. Okay? Ammo hidden at the hospital? That is insane. That's not how that works. A piece of artillery, like a fucking a shell off of a fucking bomb that was intercepted, falls directly into ammunition that is just hanging out at the side of the fucking garage, at the side of the hospital, that blows up with one explosion and not multiple. That's crazy. Exercise a little bit of fucking critical thinking. God damn it. I mean, there are plenty of fucking people. I don't care about this. Look. There are plenty of smart people who looked at the death and the destruction that Hamas rocket could have potentially caused and realized it can't be a fucking Hamas rocket that was misfired, because there has never been a Hamas rocket that has been able to kill 500 people. The payload of the missile that struck the hospital and the sound that it emitted as it was flying are very similar to JDAMs that have been used in Afghanistan. The payload is far greater. Signs it is an airstrike. Size of the explosion. AV evidence corresponding with JDAM strike signature. Israel saying the hospitals were fair game. Previous Israeli attacks on this building. Almost all governments blaming Israel. Signs it was a Hamas rocket. Israel says so. Well, now, and also fucking OSINT Andes as well. Guys, it is fucking ridiculous, okay? Israel already bombed that exact hospital. Israel sent a fucking missile to that hospital on Saturday. What the fuck are we talking about? That's 100% a JDAM or a MK84 with a JDAM kit. Just look at the video on the ones used in Afghanistan by U.S. Air Forces. There's videos on YouTube. I did. I literally showed what a JDAM in Afghanistan sounded like and looked like and what the damage looked like versus the rocket that they fucking lobbed into, the missile that they lobbed into the fucking hospital. The idea that like, God, I do not know how they're going to spin it. I don't know. I mean, Israel has lied time and time again. They have lied time and time again. They've also very openly said that they are interested in hitting the hospitals. I don't know why people just forget that part.
Happens at the end of that.
Well, I suppose Israel wasn't really given the opportunity to fully contemplate what the consequences of that action might be, because Israel didn't instigate this war. This war was instigated by a...
Cap, that's insane, dude. That's insane. Again, this is so fucking stupid. You're a stupid person for saying that. It's so frustrating.
Horrible terrorist attack on Israel, and a state is put in a position where it has to respond. Now, one might argue that the very fact that Israel has yet to actually launch their ground invasion means that they are actually making a calculation about what the cost will be, what victory.
Yeah, no, they are. They don't give a shit. They're working on the spin already. Wait, let's see. What is the spin now? Whoa, Israeli media is reporting that the IDF has a recording of a conversation between Islamic Jihad terrorists confirming that they launched a rocket that hit the Gaza hospital. It would reportedly be released shortly. Okay. For those of you who are new in this fucking field, okay, a lot of you are going to come back in here and go over and over again, dude, I told you, Israel said it, and also here, they found this fucking proof. It's conclusive. Wait until there is expert analysis and third-party analysis if you do not believe me, okay? This has happened a million times over. Please.